Welcome back to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. Thank you for tuning in and listening to our stories. My name is Juri Love. I'm your host. I'm very excited to have another guest tonight. Her name is Shauntay Armstead from Pennsylvania. Before I introduce her, I want to introduce my book, which is A Gift from Adversity, which is available on Amazon. The subtitle is Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. So, after I published my book, a lot of people came up to me and disclosed their adversities with me. And I felt compelled to create a platform where people can share their adversities and tools that they use to overcome and a gift that came from it. So, tonight, let's welcome our guest. Hi, Shauntay. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Good to have you on my show. So, can you please tell our audience who you are and what you do?
My name is Shauntay Armstead. I go by Enrich Mom, and I created ebooks for busy parents, just different solutions and life hacks to help them out and make life a little easier.
Wonderful. And how can people find out your work? Do you have any website, social media,
Yes,
Instagram?
yes. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. My handle is at Enrich Mom One, and my website can be found on Etsy, ebooks by Enrich Mom, and also Gumroad, enrichmom1.gumroad.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. So, Shante, let's jump into our first question, which is the adversity. Can you tell our audience what was your adversity?
Um, my varsity was about 4 years ago, which is where this journey began. I was actually feeling like I was at the height of my life, like everything was perfect, and then it was like it all came crashing down. I lost everything. I lost my house, I lost my car, my kids, everything, and I was just in a really dark place. I got really depressed for a few months. I felt like I was alone. Everyone turned their back on me, and I just started writing just to release some of that pain that I was, going through. So I was just writing and writing. I ended up moving, putting all my stuff in storage, downsizing from a house to like a 1 bedroom apartment just to get, everything out the way. And then when I moved out of the town I moved like about an hour away from where I was living, and I got my stuff out of storage and was unpacking, and I found all the notebooks that I was writing, and I was just like, I couldn't believe all the stuff that I was writing. So I just decided to turn a lot of that into ebooks to help other parents and mothers overcome similar situations that they might be going through.
Well, you said a lot about the adversity part quickly, but let's actually dissect a little bit. So let's go back to what happened. You said 4 years ago.
Yes,
You
it was
lost everything. How
yes.
how did you lose everything?
Well, I felt like it was more or less taken away from me, but I'm not gonna I'm gonna take some accountability for that situation as well. But I was living in a smaller town, and I really didn't fit in the town. Me and my children were just, some people were like a little bit racist out there, and they kept calling children and youth on me for stuff that was like that I had no control over, like my daughter having eczema, so her skin looked different, so they were saying it looks like abuse, and it was just a lot going on in the town, and I just kind of brushed it off like, I was in school. I was about to graduate from school for surgical technology. So I was just really trying to stay focused on my goals, but it was just, they were just constantly coming at me. And I just like, and it just basically, they just took my kids from me. And after that, I kind of just let everything go. Like, I wasn't really, like, they put my kids in foster care for a couple months, And it was like everything that I felt like those years that I worked so hard to get my kids to that point, it was like they were trying to undo everything, like put bad things about me in my kids' heads. And then it was like once everything passed, it was like they just gave my kids back to me and sent us on our way with all the trauma instilled and all the drama. And it was like nobody looked back or thought twice, like they were. And it was just nonstop, back to back. Like the police were coming, they were like basically pointing guns at my kids, and I was just like, this is getting out of control. Like I cannot raise my children in this type of volatile environment, even though I was comfortable there because I was there for such a long time. But it was such a volatile environment that I was literally feeling like attacked by every end. Like I felt like nobody, even the system, was against me. Not only the people in the town, but it felt like the system was against me as well. So it was like I was literally being pushed into a corner by strangers, family, people that I thought were friends. Like it was like everyone was turning their back against me, and I really had to pull myself out of that dark place. Like, and I pulled myself out of it, but I know a lot of it was God, because I don't even remember like some of those days even moving or waking up or going to work. Like some of those days were just like a complete blur.
I am so sorry that you had to go through that. I don't understand why people are so nosy and entitled. And obviously, I can, you know, sympathize with the racism part of it. My children are mixed and they are very little, but still, racial slurs. And like my kids got called brownies or like black monkey negro. And those are unacceptable. It's a hate crime.
Absolutely.
And I've seen this in 2022. And I understand the different town, different place. Um, I feel like in America, like depending on where you are, I think racism gets more intense.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I'm minority as well. The people just don't understand the magnitude of this discrimination. And I'm very sorry that you went through that. It's horrible.
Yes. And just like you said, like in the smaller towns, they definitely feel more entitled, like it's their town or you're intruding on their land. And it's like, that's not the case. Like, this is a free country, like, this is not like even your property is not owned. Like, even though you own your property, it's not owned, but nobody owns people, and those words can be very hurtful, and it's like people don't even understand the power of their own words sometimes, like how much that could sink in on a child. Because when it started, my children were young too, only in like first grade and preschool, like third grade. So it started really young. Like now my children are older, but it started with them really young, and then the intensity just grew. It was like the more we ignored it, or some stuff I was probably entertaining because I was, thinking, fighting back was the way. But then it was like after they were getting ignored and not getting the attention, they went to the next extreme, like anything to try to hurt someone that they felt like was doing better than them, or that they should have what that person has. And it's terrible, because it's like, you got to think like their children might be raised like that, and they might raise their children like that, and it just keeps on going until somebody literally stops it. Like somebody wakes up and is like, this is not right.
It is unbelievable that you have to go through and your children have to go through gunpoint at them, foster family, just so traumatizing. How are they doing right now?
They're doing good. I definitely have them in counseling. We go to church. They're in their own. I try to like we do a lot of stuff as a family, but I also try to put them in their own, their own lane. And where we live now is so much more better. It's so much more accepting. Like people want to invite my kids places, and they're excited that they're a part of their groups and in their communities. So it definitely like I definitely feel like everything happens for a reason. Like I'm thankful that I've overcome it and I'm able to talk about it, because that what when I was in there in that adversity, in that dark space, I couldn't see this light right now, like I couldn't see the that there was better ahead. So everything definitely happens for a reason.
Well, for the people who do not understand the extreme racism, I just want to elaborate. Like, I'm Japanese, and then I was raised in a country where we only have Japanese people. So I don't understand the magnitude of white, black, yellow, whatever, that I was not really aware until I came to this country. And I feel having mixed children and experiencing this the first hand, as little as my daughter, 5 years old, was called, "What are you guys doing? What are you two brownies doing here?" Like, she doesn't understand why she cannot swim at the swimming pool. We pay the same rent. And those are the little things, but it's not little.
Right.
These words hurt forever. And it hurt me. And I'm like, I'm paying rent here. I have a right to bring my children to this private pool. Like, why am I getting discriminated? And it hurts. And
Yeah.
as little as they are, they remember. They do remember. So putting them to the counselor, charge, moving to a different place, and those are really good. But at the same time, you as a mom, you must have suffered, and you said it's kind of blah, but like, do you remember the feeling when you are going through this extreme, like when you lost your kids? And
Yeah, of course I remember the feeling. It was like a dream, like it was so surreal because it was like jumping up out my sleep thinking my kids were calling me, like, hearing my kids constantly saying mom, but knowing they're not actually there with me. Like that's why I said I lost it, but I didn't really, because I had to let those things go, because I'm like, I can't stay in this house anymore. Like this is where like I kind of had to switch the routine that I was doing things, and I kind of had to shift everything around, because staying in that same situation in the same house, like the house was beautiful. Like you said, I love the house. And but it was like I was drowning there, like even though it was only those couple of months, like every day just felt like forever. And I just remember doing a lot of crying and a lot of praying, and just that's pretty much the only thing I remember doing, because I really don't remember going to work. Like I know my whole body was in pain, like everything hurt from the top of my head to the my toenails. It was like every part of my body was just in pain, like. And even looking back, that's why some things like Facebook is good. But like when my memories popped up, I see that I was still posting positive messages and, like pushing myself through it, even though I don't actually recall pushing myself through it. But I literally was like, I was literally dragging myself through all the situation without any real help from the people that I thought would be there for me.
that is just horrible. I'm very sorry that it's just heartbreaking as a single mom myself. If that would happen, I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know. I have no idea how you pulled through. I have no idea what I would do. No idea. They are my world, and I love them so much.
Yes, that's exactly how I felt. Like it was literally like your world, like it's like your world being ripped out of you. Like we had just came back from the beach, like, and it's like y'all claiming me to be this horrible parent, but y'all don't have nothing against me. Like I work, I pay my bills, my kids have shelter, we have food. You know what I'm saying? Like my kids are in better shape than 75% of the people where I was living. So it's just like, what is the real purpose of this? Like to destroy my family? Like there was really, I feel like there was no real purpose behind it. But like I said, it all turned out to be for my good because like now my daughter's a teenager and well both I have a preteen, a 10 and a 15-year-old daughter now. This happened when they were like about 4 and 9, going into 5 years old. So it was just like now that she's a teenager, like it brought us closer together, you know, because those teenager years are tough. Like you see more teenagers drawn away from their parents and drawn closer. So it's like she's actually drawing closer to me. So, like I said, I'm thankful for everything that happened, but in the moment, I definitely couldn't see any of that. Like, all I could see and feel and hear was pain. Like, just even down to, you know, and I never went through something like that, like hearing voices and like just crazy stuff like that that you think people are crazy when they say they hear voices in their head. And it's like that's how I was feeling. Like I just kept hearing these crazy voices, like, and I really had to cut that stuff out of my mind and like just stay focused on my I'm gonna see my kids, you know, like because I know manifestation and speaking things into existence is real. So I just had to just keep speaking my words, just keep believing and just keep trusting the process. And you know, knowing that I'm still in the process because we're still healing and we're still going, you know what I'm saying, like trying to rebuild ourselves and grow from the past. So we're still in the healing process, but I'm just thankful that I'm able to talk about it and knowing that other people and other mothers and other parents in general may be able to relate and know that they can overcome it, you know? Because it's not only like, you know, not only like people of color go through that situation, they may go through it more, but there's people that are targeted for other reasons. You know, it might be their own family calling on them or anything. So dealing with those type of systems like children and youth and like dealing with those type of government systems, like they can really play tricks on your mind and think, oh, you're a bad parent. You don't deserve, like, those kids deserve better. And it's like, nobody could love a kid. Like, there's no love like a mother's love. There's no love like a father's love. You know, like, that's a genuine love. Like, of course, I want other people to love my children. I want everybody to love my children. But nobody could love them and do how I would do them, you know?
I 100% completely understand you. And then again, like, I just can't imagine what you went through. Thank you so much for sharing your adversity with our audience. And I truly appreciate you connecting with me and with our audience for a gift from adversity. Now let's shift our second question, which is what are the tools that you use to overcome this? And the reason why I ask this to every guest is because I am a survivor of child sex abuse, homelessness, bullying from Japan, and mental health was never talked about. And I had no counselor until like later in my life. And all the things that people say to the people who had experienced trauma or any type of PTSD, they just say, oh, see a counselor and you'll be fine. It's not like that. And then we all try different modalities to overcome this adversity. So every guest so far had very unique ways that they use to overcome the trauma or adversity. which I actually applied some of them that they shared. So this is a real conversation that we are having right now. So Shante, can you tell our audience what are the tools that you use to overcome this extreme adversity that you went through, and what worked the most?
The main tool that I can honestly, I have to say God, like prayer and God, not even church. Like just connecting closer with God, connecting with that higher power, knowing that there's somebody above you that could change every situation. Like knowing that somebody created this earth and he still knows who you are. So that was my main tool, and I just allowed him to bring people into my life, like the right people into my life, whether it was for a small amount of time, a week, a day, a second, 6 months, 6 years, like whatever that time was, he placed those people in my life. And that support system was really what carried me through. Like having a support system is so important. Like it takes a village to raise a child. And I feel like we're always children, like we still need that village. We still need people around us. Like nobody can do everything by themselves, so everybody needs somebody. So I feel like that's really important. And just having that discernment to know the people that are really for you. So that was one of the big things. Counseling, of course, helped, but that was also a process because I was going through counselors for a while. So counseling wasn't just, oh, go to a counselor and it worked out. I really had to be like, this counselor is not for me. Like, I need to go to a different place, a different counseling service. Like, so that's also a process, but it's really just pushing yourself, like getting up every day, doing something, staying busy, like until you get to that place that you could actually deal with your emotions without your emotions, so to speak. Like, you're really able to tell yourself and deal with those things without crying or breaking down or going deeper into depression. So you really have to keep busy until you bring yourself to that point that you could discuss it, because you're overcoming it. Like in the darkness, you really can't see the light, but once you see that light and you draw yourself near to it, and I feel like God was that light for me, that I was able to keep drawing near to him so that I could overcome the situation that I couldn't see myself out of. But I know that there was a way. Like I know that there's always a way. So those are the main tools that I use. Just staying positive. Like I said, my memories, it didn't feel like it at the time, but staying positive, speaking positive words. It's not always about what you see, because you could speak things. You could say you're rich every day and you could be poor, So it's really about your words, watching your words, speaking positive words over your life, and just staying focused on the goals and the what you want to accomplish and overcome.
Very, very powerful, Shante. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just to let our audience know, I did have the same issues with the counselors. And then, um, you know, when people suggest me to see a counselor, it's not that easy. You have to have the chemistry and then match and trust. And then I never trusted anyone, after my trauma, and then including counselors. And I just didn't feel that they would understand the magnitude of the trauma I went through in my life, because they're supposed to like they are like privileged. Went to college. I was
Mm-hmm.
homeless. I didn't have money to go to college. I had to work myself up to put myself to the college. And I just feel a lot of counselors that I met, no disrespect to them, I just did not connect. Like, just like you said. And there's an insurance portion of it. Just to share that if you have private insurance, it's very easy to get a counselor tomorrow. But if you have like Medicare, like we have this thing called Mass Health, it's very difficult. It's like almost a year wait list,
Wow.
because it's so backed up, especially after the pandemic. But if
Yeah.
you do have the private insurance, it's a different story. So it's just lose-lose situation in a lot of cases. And then I really love what you said about manifesting the positive thought, putting yourself to the day, keeping yourself busy and putting yourself to the routine, and those are not easy when you are going through so much adversity and trauma. It is extremely difficult to put yourself to public. You just want to stay in bed.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad to have this conversation with you. And then my last question is a gift. So how would you say or describe a gift that came from this adversity?
The gift would definitely be the books that I've written. They're short, they're only like 15 to 25 pages, but every single book has a purpose, like a way to alleviate stress and, get past those things that you can't always see the light out of. I did write about a couple of traumas that I dealt with in my life, even from younger, like you said when you were younger. So I did write about some of those traumas as well. So and I left resources that I use. It's not like one shoe fits all, but a lot of the resources that people don't even know are there or realize that can be helpful, I tried to include in the book. So that's just my gift, the gift of knowledge, the gift that you could keep on giving. And I try to make every book have information that would be retainable so that it's something memorable, like so that you could remember what you read. So if you see somebody going through it, you could be like, oh, this is what I learned, and this might work for you too. So that's basically I felt the gift that came out of it. And I always wrote, that is my gift. I feel like writing is my gift. So to be able to, if it wasn't for that situation, I probably wouldn't be writing. I would be working in a hospital doing what I was getting ready to finish school for. So I wouldn't have really been using my gift if I had finished school, and everything would have went how I wanted it to go. So, like I said, everything happens for a reason. So my gift is writing and giving knowledge and, empowering people to empower themselves, because sometimes you don't have somebody to give you the empowerment that you want. So the books kind of give you that self-empowerment, that self-awareness, so that you can be a better person and overcome and grow.
And how can people buy your book? Is it on Amazon, Enrich Mom?
No, I have ebooks right now. So the ebooks I have them on Etsy and Gumroad right now. Enrichmom1.gumroad.com.
Got it. So I have one question, live question. Brian said, "What put your mind at ease?"
Just knowing that at the time, nothing really put my mind at ease, but having those positive thoughts like, my kids are coming back to me, I'm going to get everything back double. I'm going to get double for my trouble. Like, just speaking those positive, even with tears in my eyes, I just believed in my heart that it belonged to me. Like, they're mine. Like, not that they're a piece of property, but it's mine. Like, what's for me is for me. So that's something that really put me at ease. Like, I can't be robbed. Like, what's for me is for me. Like, it's gonna come to me no matter what, no matter who's trying to stop me or what gets in my way or what detours I take, I'm gonna get to that destination.
That's very powerful, Brian. That's the answer for you. Thank you so much for the question. And to me, what put my mind at ease sometimes is creating music, creating different articles, and then speaking with people that I trust. Those are the time that I can really put my mind at ease.
Yes. Speaking about it now definitely helps me but in those times I could only speak to myself. Like, sometimes I couldn't even have words. Like, I remember going around people and just sitting there like if I wasn't even in the room. So definitely, as I'm overcoming it now, talking about it is also part in the healing process. So I'm glad that you said that.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that the moment that my father started to sexually abuse me, and then started to be aware of what was really going on with me and my father, I remember I became a complete mute. I
Yeah.
just couldn't put any words out of my mouth, and I got bullied, called like deaf. And sometimes when you are in that extreme trauma and situation, I don't know if it's self defense mechanism, but you just lose words and you just can't even share. You just become like numb.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
I'm very happy that you are on a different side of spectrum, and then be able to share with our audience, and then be able to speak about it and then write a book and share with people. So my very last request is, if people are going through some hard time, what is your advice?
Definitely reach out to people. Not for nothing, I feel like strangers are better than people you know, because then you don't have to worry about your business going through the grapevine. So sometimes just speaking out to a stranger, I know it feels weird because sometimes you just say to somebody, "Hi, how you doing?" They be just like, "Yeah, my cat died," or just, like they just start going off, and you're just like, "Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. I hope things get better." They really have a genuine response for you as opposed to somebody that's just listening, like you're taking notes just so they can remember to tell to the next person. So definitely, reaching out to those people that, might not be your typical person that you would think would be there for you. So I think that's very important.
That is very interesting. Yeah, like especially I'm in like acting entertainment world. I would even be scared to tell a lot about myself in that community, because it's like you never know. And same thing as, workplace as well. Sometimes, or family members even. So sometimes sharing it with a stranger, like, like you said, they might have the point, and then you might be somebody who can be that kind of figure as well. Like maybe some people can come back to you and then start to open up their life problems, and then you're there to listen. And I think as a collaborative human being, um, we did this, me and my children, we did this thing called Random Act of Kindness,
Yeah.
where it was a challenge every day. We've been participating for past 3-4 years. And basically, the month of February, we do random act of kindness every single day in the month of February. Like, giving a balloon to a stranger, or a flower to a stranger, or just buying coffee for the people behind. And then that just brighten their days. And even like strangers, they can, you can just brighten their days. And then, you maybe sharing your story can maybe empower them to share their story as well. And then I think it's very important that we have this compassion, because you never know what people are going through that day. You have no
Mhm.
idea, you know? Abs-
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, anyways, again for coming to A Gift from Adversity tonight. Tonight, our conversation, I hope that audience got something out of it. And you're brave, you're beautiful, and your children are brave, and they have bright futures ahead. And I'm so, so genuinely grateful that you are able to overcome and to be able to share your story on A Gift from Adversity. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.